Good morning.
And glad to be back. I have not been available in the last 2 gangs. Yes.
We have missed you. You're driving in from Shema yesterday.
Yes.
To make it.
Yeah, I have been in Shema working on mobilizing my people.
Already?
Not mobilizing for elections, mobilizing for socio-economic causes. So we are focusing on monitoring those who are engaged, looking at the success stories of PDM. Yeah.
Okay. And we have those success stories of PDM?
Yes, we have. You see, the reports we normally get from our technical people, they are more of accountability reports of how the money has been disbursed to different groups and who has received and how much interest has been collected. But in Shema, what we are asking is that we want to look at the impact. Want to look at the qualitative impact of the PDM. So while the disbursement reports are available, we are interested in the success stories. So I have a report which I received from the different people. Those who say, I got PDM, I started a poultry farm, and I have achieved this. I think for me, those are more good stories to look at.
So you would say PDM has been successful in Shema. A lot of people have had doubts about PDM.
Of course, success is relative, because I mentioned earlier in one of my talk shows that even a success of 40% for PDM is a very good step, because you are trying to lift people into the money economy. So we are not, I think, personally, I did not lay my expectations to success rate of 70, 80, but a success rate of even 40%. Because I have people who say I used to produce 15 bunches of banana. Because of PDM, I was able to get some manure, and now I'm producing 30. I used to have 20 bags of coffee. Now I'm producing 50. So for me, the few success stories are a demonstration that, if this program is sustained going forward and we correct some of the mistakes, we should be able to progressively lift our people into the money economy. Yes. So I believe in it, but there are challenges. But as leaders, we have the responsibility to talk to our people and make sure that it works, and also give feedback to government to make sure that its design is properly designed and it achieves the intended objectives.
Kailash, today is not PDM is not our topic, but I'll save what you've said in memory and store you, because if your bar is down low as 40%, it makes me worried. You're a businessman to be saying 40% is good. But I'll store this and I'll take you on when we have that as a topic. Dr. Chris Mukiza is in the studio yet again. Good morning, Dr. Chris Mukiza, and welcome to the Capital Gang.
Good morning, Oscar. I'm happy to be back to provide some few clarifications on the report we made this week on Thursday, and also thank Ugandans for having participated in the census. And now what's remaining are these honorable MPs and the planners to utilize this data to improve a number of outcome and output indicators.
Well, were you in charge of the census 2014?
No,
you're in charge 2024.
Yes.
Every time you put out statistics, people come out shouting. But before I tell you what they've been shouting about, let me first take what were your findings? What are your highlights of the new releases?
Yeah, before I go in the highlights, I want to first take responsibility on the table we published on tribes, the distribution of tribes in Uganda.
They are causing you such a headache.
Yeah, but it is a small issue. It is a human error that copied data for some tribe of 2014 and put it in another like that. But the results of 2014 that we published and the ones of 2024 are not affected. And we want to apologize to the following tribes. Bachiga. You saw Bachiga had increased by 100% in our data that we published. Bajisu and Acholi had contracted. But as I have said, the population, the 2014 population for Bachiga was erroneously copied to Bajisu. And the Bajisu population was copied to Bachiga. The same issue happened to population of Lango, was taken to Acholi and vice versa for 2014. So that's why you saw the contraction. From that time we have collected that the population that we reported in 2014 for Bachiga is 2,390,446, not 1.64 that was reported on Thursday. So they have increased from 2.39 million to 2.947. That's Bachiga. For Langi's population in 2014 was 2,131,495. And the population of 2024 is, as we reported, 2.703,277. So they have increased by nearly 600. Bajisu, the population in 2014 was 1,646,904. And in 2024 is what we reported. So you can see that once we correct that human error, there is no tribe that has contracted at all. Actually, the 2014 data shows that there were 1,470,554, and the reported 2024 is 1.941. So they increased by nearly 460,000. So there is no tribe that contracted. They grew. And the data for 2024, as we published then, has not been changed. It was just a human error, and to error is human.
A typing error.
Yes.
And Banyoro?
Banyoro in 2014 were 966,976. And 2024, as of census night, there are 1,218,121. Of course, the Baganda, as you can see, the number has not changed as we reported. Now, when you add that total, you are seeing 43.372. Yet you are reporting that they were 45.9. So those ones, we have non-Ugandans, the non-Ugandan residents who are here by census night. And they are in total 1,015,386. Of those, the refugees were 805,589.
These what's your definition of refugee?
These are
registered refugees.
The one who would say we are refugees. The ones you would find in the refugee settlements, refugee camps. But there are also those refugee hosting communities in Kampala. Kampala has about 80,000 hosting refugees. So they would say we are refugees.
And you write them down as refugees.
Yes. So there are 805. Now, the other group that's not here are those we counted in institutions. in barracks, in hospitals, in schools, because we're administering a short questionnaire. And then those who are floating, you remember the people would get at census night. Floating population would not go deeper to ask those questions. And then there are those who never responded to that question, who didn't want to identify themselves to any tribe. And that total is 1,516,174. But we are going to interrogate the data further and see how we can clean it. So in other words, we are very glad that our results have generated into the public. We still need feedback so that we can go back and interrogate the data further and then produce a final report. As you know, our roadmap is the thematic report and what have you will be ready by December.
Right.
And once you produce a report and it generates interest, then we researchers get very happy. You don't publish a report that becomes boring and nobody is answering to it, and then think you have done some justice. You have not created a new knowledge. Now, from what Honorable Katesh was saying, on the people who reported to have households which reported that they had a person who received PDM money as of census night. He is lucky that in Ushenyi they are 40%. The national average is 22.7%.
That have received PDM money.
That they reported to have received PDM funds.
So as I was thinking, 40% is way down, but it is actually lower by 50%.
But note that this data is focusing on those who are in subsistence, because PDM was meant for those people. Oscar, Honorable Katesh, Honorable
Ssemujju,
Ibra cannot discount those who have got, so we got rid of them, and Mukiza. So we looked at those who are in subsistence. Okay. You may find that those who got when they are not. But for us, we now collated those who are in subsistence that are meant to be moved to money economy and received. So it is 22.7%.
Interesting. Just before we take up that line, let's first finish the tribes. What happened to the Baganda going up by about over 1.5 million in 10 years?
Yeah, I think that's not beyond what we expect, given that in every year we see an average of 1.1 million people. The total is 11.3 difference between 2014 and 2024.
Over 10 years.
So Buganda having 1.5, and as you can see, the dominant tribe is not surprising at all. And when you read the book later, you will see the fertility rates per region. We are not saying that they are more fertile than others, but their fertility rates are within the national average of 4.2 children per every woman in her reproductive age. Yes.
Are these the Baganda you have? These are people in Kampala who said, I am Muganda, or these are like Katuntu in Kampala?
No. It is not Baganda in Uganda. It is Baganda in Uganda. Yeah. You will see in a table we are giving later on, we have shown how many Baganda in Uganda, how many Baganda in Kigezi, how many Baganda are where. In fact, it's interesting to know that my tribe, Bafumbira, who are in Kigezi, they are more in Uganda than in Kigezi.
Interesting.
Yes, so the population of Bafumbira is about 980,000, but 33% is in Uganda. We see.
And there was a misconception earlier, I don't remember which particular years, when the term came in of ring fencing, when there was a perception that Bachiga were producing more than others, other Ugandans.
No, we are not Bafuruchi. We are
more in Uganda than anywhere else. Then you are generally Bafuruchi.
No. We are Ugandans who have the right to live anywhere.
That one is true, but that does not mean you are not a Bafuruchi.
And by the way, For example, I didn't shift, but the sister night found me here. I have a home there. I can't say I'm Mfurich. I have a home in my place of birth, and so many others.
It's a good time to
even
welcome.
You.
Welcome, Honorable Katuntu. Yes, he is. And Honorable Ssemujju, most welcome to Gang. So, did you have a comment to make on tribe, Katesh?
No, I just wanted to correct the impression. I mentioned that, PDM, in my opinion, PDM success rate, if we are able to achieve 40%, I would be very happy. It would be a good step. But the point I was making, Oscar, is that I am not so much excited by 100% distribution, but rather I want to look at the impact, and that's the focus we have been focusing on in Shema, to say if you received, how much have you made out of it?
PDM we shall handle,
yes,
as a significant topic on its own. That is tribe.
Yes.
I hope it will rest, because it has been in the news for the wrong reasons.
The nerves of the population should cool. That was just a human error, and somehow nobody, even supervisor and up to me, I didn't see it until, because you see the problem was we didn't want to go beyond the roadmap we gave, and the dangers of keeping the data for longer for us as statisticians are very, very high. So you better put it and correct.
I commend you. It's good when you come out and say there's a mistake, and you correct it, and you publish this new information. Let's go to the youth, the ages in Uganda. Most welcome Derek Wandera to Gang. Listeners had the noisy sitting down. That was Derek Wandera, late to Mwalimu's class.
Thank you, Oscar.
So focusing on the youth, what's the percentage of 18 years and below? Quite worrying, you'd say?
No, we've classified the age groups from 0 to 17 years. Then
18 is another.
Then 18 to 30 is the youth, according to the National Youth Act. And then the older person is 60 plus. So those who are below 18, who are 17 years and below, is 50%. In each one person you see, in each two people you see, one is a child. Below 17 is a child. Then youth.
17 and below, child.
They are
and they are 50%.
50% is half of the population.
Oh.
Then youth. I need the number. 18 to 30. Then the older person 60 and above, where I think we're almost going, Honorable Katuntu, is 5%.
Katuntu Mukiza and I.
Yes. The youth. I will give the number later on. I don't want to misinform the public, but there is now 31 to 59. Those one is 13.5%. That one I know it very fast. So we shall give you that. Now, there are so many indicators we have generated that are relating to those age groups. 0 to 17, these are school-going age.
I had the word D, dependence.
Yes, but they are going to school, and we have produced the enrollment rates. We have produced the net enrollment is a child going to school of the right age, but also reported the gross. This is whichever age, but you are in school. And we see the numbers actually for those who are in primary and who complete is reducing. In the report, I review with a copy here. You analyze and yes. And the youth is 23.5%. 18 to 30. To 30. Yes, 23.5%.
Oh. 18 to 30, 23%.
Yes.
The other one is 30-something percent.
The other one is 50%.
No, the one for 31 to 59.
That one is now a residue, because when you get 50, add 23.5, that's 70. So those below 30 years, if you start from zero, they are 73.5%. Then 60 and above is 5. So that's 78. So the difference, which is around 11.5% or 20%, are those who are in between 31 to 59. And these are the ones who are generating economy, the productive capacity. The working group starts from 15 to 64. And the report also details it. Now, for the other important indicator, which is an outcome, I think, because we have outcome indicators that shows how the country is, and for each sector or ministry where they're responsible for, is the life expectancy at birth.
That has improved.
The life expectancy at birth, we define it as the chance of a child born today on Saturday night. How many years will that child live? So the life expectancy generally has improved to 68.8 years. From 63.7. So Ugandans are living longer. Over that, females are living much longer than male. They have 70.2%, and the men is 66.8. So a woman has high chances of living longer than
a man in Uganda.
A man.
And 0 to 5 years?
The mortality, those are now the mortality rates. Under five mortality rate, in 1,000, it is now 46. 46 children in 1,000 die.
0 to 5 years.
1 to 5 years.
1 to 5 years. And in comparison to 2014?
In comparison to 380. 380 2014. This year, 2007. So there is improvement. Then the infant mortality, this is the underage, those who don't live beyond 1 year. That one is also per 1,000 live birth. They are 34 in 1,000 compared to 53 10 years ago. And those are important indicators. And that's where we generate life tables to show. Now each person, each age group, we know how long. Now those who are in 55 to 59. Yes.
Finally, from you, and we have a discussion. What about food?
Food secure. There is still a lot of food insecurity. And let me be sure. I don't want to give. Get me one. I will give you the food security, but I know we are below the international standard. We are still food insecure, despite the fact that insecure. Yes. Those who reported that they sometimes stay to get a meal.
What is your definition of food security? It's not like you've eaten and gotten full. Or do you count number of meals?
These are vulnerabilities actually. That there is a high chance that you will stay a day without
food,
having a meal, either because of lack of money or because of lack of food in the household. Yes.
Okay. Okay, let's have some discussion as you get the actual figure. Didicus is here. Katesh, you used to work with URA. Will they access this information? Because clearly there are very few people capable of paying tax.
Well, first of all, I think we commend the ED and his team for bringing out these statistics, because we have all been waiting for them. And the next step for me is how government then uses these statistics to be able to plan for the country. Because if you are talking about the tax-paying population, these statistics should be able to give us indicators of where we are, how productive our people are. Clearly, the population has grown, and some of the indicators that are in this report, for example, the population density, is not talked about it, but 224 persons per square meter is an indicator that we are stretching ourselves. And what that means is that then we have to look at how sustainable we can use our land productively. Because if you have more and more people on a square meter of land, square kilometer of land, how does that feed into the food security or insecurity we've talked about? So in terms of planning, how government responds to the need, for example, of fertilizers, the need for irrigation to be able to enhance productivity, because you have less land but more population, is something that has to be picked up. The issue of demographics, I think it's very, very clear. We have a very young population, and the young population means they are dependent. These young population don't have title, because if you drill down to title in terms of land, how can they access financial services? For example, how can they access capital to be productive without having collateral? So how do we plan for them? So we have Lydia here, Honorable Lydia, who is from the Planning Authority. Maybe this is a very important report, I think you're about to launch NDP4. We want to see how this is able to inform. Now, at the constituency level, I don't know whether this report is detailed enough to give further indicators in terms of the economic information, like the per capita incomes per district,
it goes into
the GDP, because then it feeds into our planning levels at the lowest organized level of a parish. If I know that out of my 23 parishes, this is standing at this level, then our mobilization will be more targeted towards raising these economic indicators within the population.
Okay. Abdul, Busoga, we will await fertility rates, but that one is also high.
Yeah, but last evening we were just having a discussion before he came out to apologize, and we had come to the conclusion that those figures certainly don't reflect contractions and expansions weren't really they didn't make common sense, in short. However, now that he has clarified, the most important thing, Dr. Mkiza, is how do you get this information to the relevant planning levels? Because the problem in this country, you may have those reports, but now that we run, for example, a decentralized system, you have planning should be at local government level. Do we disseminate that information to the local government levels such that whether at local government council 3, local government 5, they have those figures and they know how to plan for their areas? Then 2, the different sectors of government. The biggest weakness we have, they don't even read those reports, including where I sit and work, who are supposed to be one of the major planning
Parliament.
Yes. People who will come, sit and appreciate those figures and say, whatever either law we're enacting or policy we're endorsing, it should be reflective of the data we have. Because that's the most important. I must say, including cabinet, you might have to take cabinet to some sort of retreat, this cabinet, and then take through those figures such that by the time they come up with the policy, it is an informed policy of figures and data we have. So the work is good, it's professional, and it is all there for whatever we want to do. But let us wait in the next 10 years that whatever we are doing is reflective of what data we have. And that's the biggest problem you have, Dr. Mukiza. You bring the data and it remains in those thick books.
Like when you take Parliament to Acholi, you are thinking of a population of Acholi.
No, actually, that was supposed to be maybe northern Uganda.
Okay.
You get it, but you need to go there when you have facts and figures. The biggest, one of the other challenges we have is people don't rely so much on data, on research. Sometimes they fought a man who is always talking about research, and that is in this country called Andrew Mwenda, because everything, argument, he puts figures and so on. And people say, no, that's not true. So they come up with some sort of common sense arguments and so on. And they go on and debate. Unfortunately, even policy institutions also go into that sort of general conversations. Now that we have data, how do we utilize it?
Okay.
National Planning Authority, Lydia. Now you have everything there, whether for short-term, mid-term, or long-term planning.
Honorable Ssemujju, interestingly, we might think that a lot of people have mobile phones. It's 43%, only up from 38%. I found that surprising.
Why?
I thought mobile phone ownership is like 75%.
Oscar, now you go back to what I've been saying.
But indeed, that's why sometimes on election day they cut off the telephones, because so if it's 43%,
Oscar, I think for
from
you
38%,
for you to appreciate that, you may want to begin with the electricity coverage in the country. Electricity coverage, I don't
Dr.
know.
Mkisa, did you capture that? Yes. It's in the report.
It has been about 20% for a very long time. I don't know what it is now.
About 10 years ago, it was less than 20%.
Let's see the figure now.
It has been about 20%. And then, of course, solar is now available in many villages, but there are villages where it is not. So even if you wanted to have a phone, if you're not going to charge it, why do you have it in the first place?
I know they do.
I have said yes, there are those who...
There's a charging point.
Yeah, but the distribution of electricity and power, any source of power, speaks to ownership of items like phones. But for me, Oscar, let me start from the area where I am. One of the criteria for allocating money to local governments is population. It's one of the criteria. So government is supposed to look at the number per district as they determine their budget. The Electoral Commission, by constitution, is supposed to be reviewing constituencies every after population census. Because if you look at so the laws have been changed. In KCCA now, every 100,000 people will be represented by a council, so the numbers have gone down. Even in local government, in Chira municipality, we had 24 councillors that became 84 in the last elections, because almost every village in Chira is big. If you come to Bukasa, where I live, the neighboring village called Namatawa has 10,000 voters, one village. It's bigger than many of the constituencies. In Tungamo has about 8,000. I have 56 villages. Potentially, all my villages are bigger than some of the districts and municipalities. If you go to Moroto, by the last census, there were 12,000 Moroto. I don't know how many they are. I'll be glad to look at those figures. So the planning for budget allocation, for representation in local government and parliament is supposed to be, ordinarily supposed to be based on the population figures. Unfortunately, constituencies and districts are also dished out like a part of the handout for the president. Because if you look at the districts that we are creating, you go to Kasese, I think Kasese should be about 1 million people now. But you have districts that are less than 100 or just between 100 and 200,000. I'll be also interested reading. I have asked Dr. Mukiza to give me a report on the children in schools and those who are dropping out. I hope they captured that. My only disappointment, which I think to them was important, is that the questionnaire was too long. Sometimes, because in my constituency, I know there are people who were not counted. I know that for a fact. Because Dr. Mukiza kept reinforcing his team, including a day when he brought buses of enumerators to try to cover the area. But there were too many and they were taking long. I don't know whether it is possible, maybe in the future, to think about doing this in phases. You do population and you do other things, and then the lengthy questionnaire can follow. Because all these statistics, as he was generating it, is important for the country for planning. But it made the exercise, the budget that was available, the days that were allocated. So they made it a little bit tedious, and I'm sure, and I'm saying this as a fact, that some of the people in my constituents were not counted. I don't know how many they are. They may not be a very big percentage. So we will wait to read the report and understand it, and then see how we apply it to the work that we do on behalf of people we represent. Okay. And I am happy that this report is out, and I want to thank Dr. Mukiza and his team.
A rare thanks from Ssemujju. Hold on, Dr. Mukiza. Let's have Lydia.
I wanted to give you the number.
Just hold on 1 second. We'll have Lydia, and then we'll have Derek here, and then back to you. Lydia, radio usage is also low. Surprising. I thought it would be at somewhere like 85% people have radios, but Ssemujju is looking at me again.
Like, where do you live?
and in comparison to mobile phones, because if you have a mobile phone, technically you should have a radio, apart from Abdul's expensive phone that doesn't have one. But Lydia, is that surprising that radio ownership is not that high?
No, that's perception, but the reality are the statistics that we have. So we should use the information that is now researched to help us plan better, because communication is important. The only way we can disseminate even government programs is through radio. Such channels like radio, but also phones. But you realize that many phones, even the one of KBDT, they have since been improved. They have some modes of radio. They have financial, services. They are doing these small phones are doing now so many functions: financial transactions, radio, camera. They take pictures. So if you see the reduction of the traditional radio that Oscar, it's because the phones have taken up some of those functions, including CCTV security. People are using phones for their own security. They are able to detect something around their environment. But to thank Uganda Bureau of Statistics, I attended the the launch. And Oscar, you have not commented about my beautiful shirt. Really, are you jealous? But Dr. Mukiza is going to, I think, at the end of the show, maybe give you some T-shirts and also the report. Both. Yeah, he had a beautiful bag, a beautiful report, and a beautiful shirt like that I'm putting on. But the issue that Honorable Ssemujju has raised is a matter of conversation, because there were 160 questions. But they segmented to address different demographic indices, but also economic questions. It was heavy, but the good thing again is that they give it 2 days. The past censuses were used to be, I think, 1 day, but this one there was a census night. But going forward, they gave 10 days. So, and then Dr. Mukiza came here. I remember, and he extended some days with the justification of the difficult to reach areas, like those ones in the islands. There are those who are in the floods. So I think that these questions in the next 10 years should help the country to plan better, because for every section of the question there are a lot of issues that are going to help us to plan for the meager resources we have. The challenge, I think we should agree that we are going to do our part as people who plan for the country. The wananchi or the people of Uganda should see dividends or the beauty or the value addition of the census report. Not everybody will understand, but if you wake up one morning, Oscar, now a Ugandan lives the life expectancy 68 years, isn't it, Dr. Mukiza? Away from 40 something. So we must now explain why is a Ugandan living longer. It's because we can say maybe they have better access to water, clean water, or they have better access to health services, or they have better access to education, which they leverage them to have a better standard of life. So the indicator, the social demographic indicators should tell us the story about where the country's life is, the standard of living is going, by actually just mentioning like the life expectancy. When you go down to the immunization cover, the infant mortality, the maternal mortality, we have now less mothers dying at childbirth. Would love to have a zero rate, but the figures have come down, like Dr. Mukiza has told you. Even infant mortality, a child who dies before they see their first birthday, there's a child who dies before they've seen their 50th birthday. All these are very important social development indicators that tell a country's growth, but also that tell a country's development from the community, from the grassroots. So at the level of the national plan, we have something, we have a document, we have a research document as a basis to draw priorities for the country, and also to see where we can leverage where the country's resources should go. But as I give away the microphone, this census also brought out regions that are less developed and or are posting less development indices as compared to other regions. What we normally call the poverty map of the country. We should now be able to explain and be able to target those regions. I mean, why should one region, one zone, for example, have poor social demographic indicators as compared to another region? So I think this information was very important for us, and as we plan, there must be now affirmative action to these regions of the country whose indices are poor compared to the others.
And Moses Pierahanga weighs in very quickly. He says, I've been telling you, Oscar, about steady progress. These improvements in infant mortality of 1 to 5
and maternal mortality and life expectancy
indicators of social economic progress. Derek Wandera, when over to you, you're the newsman here. I've looked at internet usage because if you think of newspapers are dying world over and people are going online, the newspapers are dying and people are going online, but internet usage in Uganda is very, very low. I see here 16% for academic work, 13% for business or office tasks, and for social network, 67%. And word of mouth is still important in sources of information at 22%. Interesting. So I've been looking through here to see where newspapers are. I don't know. Did you find yourself in the census as newspapers?
Thank you, Oscar. Fortunately, I have been very close to Dr. Mukiza during this whole process because I've covered census, this particular census, up to Thursday when the census report was launched. So through the process, I've been following. I was, for instance, in the field all through during the census night, but the real census, the 100 and something questions being asked to people.
And is there anything on newspaper usage? And
I am. There, of course, there should be, but I'm constrained to comment on the newspaper usage, newspaper in particular, because I know how it has come under threat. You mentioned internet still remaining low, but yet also the usage of newspapers has since drifted into very insignificant numbers. As a student of statistics, I as a data journalist, really, I have a certificate in data journalism from Aga Khan University, and these figures come in heavy proportion to me. I have been hearing celebrations from the Honorable Wanyoto saying there is a lot of improvement in life expectancy and things like that. As these figures were being gathered, the preliminary report being released and stuff like that, one of the key area I was looking at is the agriculture, for instance, which is our backbone as a country. And people who are still depending on subsistence agriculture still remains way high. I think in its 60s, 65 or thereabout, 62. And for me, if you are looking at figures and looking at a country like Uganda, which mainly depend on agriculture, and the agriculture has not been commercialized to the extent that it should, then we should be actually worried. We should not celebrate about the high life expectancy and things like that. We need to look at the socio-economic transformation. So when you ask me about internet usage remaining low, it is just because, one, the internet is very, very expensive for the people. I think at some point internet was being taxed, and many people, including political activists and other activists, went on the streets to demonstrate, to protest the high cost of internet. But even when the taxes have been removed, they have actually not been removed. They only were rechanneled. And they are being taxed in a different way. When you look at Uganda, for instance, the affordability of the figures of internet for Uganda and maybe Kenya and our surrounding countries like Rwanda, we still stand very high.
South Sudan
and South Sudan. Congo. You get? We are still. Honorable Katuntu is bringing in South Sudan and Congo. Because in terms of penetration, probably we might be better than South Sudan. We might be better than Congo, or even Rwanda. But Rwanda is actually higher than us. But when you look at the figures in terms of purchase for internet, Uganda still goes very high. And for me, as a journalist, I'm looking at how are we going to move from word of mouth to internet to having you were even talking about like access to phones. It still remains low. Radios still remain low. So if there is an technological advancement that is not translated into figures for purchasing data at an individual level, then we are going to remain in those very minimal figures.
I've not even brought up TV.
You get?
Let me go back to Dr. Mkiza here. Moses also was asking Moses Peranga about housing and housing characteristics. One, you are going to give us information on agriculture, on what's in the report on food. Then when you look at household, the household is a bit worrying, the report. The figures are a bit worrying.
Whether you have now more details other than what is published, especially as it goes down to district level. And
I should think so, because these are just summaries.
Yeah, because that's what eventually you need to have.
That's what we need.
So go on, Dr. Mkiza.
Yes, I will first respond to the food security question. So 4 in 10 households reported that they experienced moderate severe food insecurity, meaning 60% are the ones who are food secure. And how do you define food security? It's a household that consistently has adequate access to sufficient, safe and nutritious food. Not any food, it has to be safe and nutritious. Sufficient, safe and nutritious food. So 60% get. Now I will also give the data on electricity coverage. The clean energy electricity is at 53.4%. Of that, 25.3% are getting from grid, umeme. 25. Whereas 28.1 is solar. So the 53.4. There is still a gap. And now for
it's interesting. So
power distribution,
people have more solar than electricity.
Than electricity, yes.
Okay.
Because when you go like many rural areas, they are having those
panel and lights.
Yeah, just for purposes of 1 or 2 lights
and charging the phone.
Yeah.
Go on, Dr. Mkiza.
Then also on housing, we looked at the roof, we looked at the floor and the wall. So we found in the response, 75% of all houses have iron sheet roof. It has moved from 73.3. And those with walls made of brick is 61%. Then those with the floor of cement grid is 31%.
And
31.
What's shocking is there are many without a toilet.
Yes, there are those who are doing open something. And especially in Karamoja. No, the way it is.
Because they are eating.
Yeah. but someone, when you are interviewing, someone can actually say that.
No, they told us they do open defecation. And in some regions you find they are about 73%. And now on
73%.
On the lengthy questions, we are actually very happy that we got sufficient data that's going to form NDP4 and also for measuring progress that had not been measured before. Because we did this following the user demand. One of our corporate objective is to respond to user demand, and we are user oriented. So many of the questions were put in by users, and now NDP was one of them. When they were writing NDP3, they did not have baseline indicators. Now, they have no excuse. Going forward, we shall now be doing surveys to answer some of these questions to track, and we shall not cover them in the next census. The next census should have not more than 40 questions. But now, given this, we shall be tracking them after 2 years or 3 years, so that we don't... we are building capacity because we are going to decentralize.
Yeah.
Every sub-region is going to have SASCO offices that will be helping local governments, and especially the community information system. We are giving each parish 2 tablets so that they could be updating this information in all sectors.
Okay.
Now on dissemination, every district is going to have a portal with the district-specific data. And the planners will be in charge of that portal. And the data we have now goes up to the village and households in that village with all the community characteristics. What this report shows is that the community loads accessing to either the district load or the trunk load is very low. And this one reminds me, when I was young, there used to be Burungi Bwans. I don't know whether you people, the leaders conduct Burungi Bwans now.
Rarely.
So it's not only the government, but even local leaders need to promote that.
We do it in Rotary a lot, but
NPA is going to access all the data set for planning. But as you said, planning is one thing, implementation is another.
One.
And for us as statisticians, once we give this data and we don't see it being utilized,
Dr. Mkiza, I want to close this topic, and I want to give you like 1 minute for what should we do from the information you've given, and then we'll get you back in December.
Yes, I think what we want the public to do is to read the report, analyze it, and where they should give us feedback. As I said, we have the data. There may be some things we did not respond to, which we are now alert that we address, so that we can produce a much improved report.
Okay.
A quality of statistics depends on the keenness of users. And for us, we are not worried about the critics. The criticism.
Okay.
It only
there are a lot of comments here on X, formerly Twitter. How else can I give you that information?
We are a website. We are also going to be doing the small briefs and some papers. We are actually going now also to do a cabinet information paper. Right. Instead of it, we may not get time. Okay. And we go and tell the cabinet what is. Then we shall also come to Parliament.
Thank you, Dr. Mkiza. We stop for a break and then we move on. We'll come back from the break. This is the Capital Gang. We've been looking at the census. Dr. Mkiza, you just want to give us a final bit of statistics?
Can I say something? First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Mkiza for correcting the tribes' numbers, because the Bagis were really wondering how their biggest strength of reproduction could have been challenged in this census. So I'm sure they are listening to Capital Gang and they are happy. And of course, they are Cholis as well. But thank you for correcting this. And no. We have not gone on that top, but we are making progress. Okay. Yeah, because it can be a very depressing figure. Dr. But he talked about a human error, which now it has now calmed down. I'm seeing a lot of messages on my phone, so that's why I had to come out to thank you.
You just to hand over the yes.
To hand over and then I go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Let's begin with you, Derek Wandera, interviewing NUP president, who then declared that he will be president. So we have, how many declarations of president do we have so far for the year 2026? We are still waiting for Ssemujju.
Presidential aspirants.
Okay, presidential aspirants or presidential candidates.
Wants to be president, is what I said. You want to be president. Okay. You could turn it any way you want, but they want to be. Ssemujju may also want to be president.
Oscar, a few weeks ago, actually last Sunday, I had last Sunday. I had a sit-down interview with the Honorable Kyagulanyi. We talked about wide-ranging issues, and one of those was about his presidential aspirations.
I like the way you say wide-ranging issues. Such a presidential term.
Yeah, it was. And one of them was his presidential aspirations, which I feel for me has been very important to point out, because there has been always a very big grumble within the opposition, the larger opposition, about the eligibility of elections in this country, asking whether just an election would be enough to remove President Museveni from his 40 and so many years counting seat. Many have pointed out to the fact that, especially Dr. Kizza Besigye, have pointed out to the fact, or to a suggestion of boycotting elections in this country from all levels, to boycott elections and seek other ways of removing President Museveni. And whenever I get a chance to speak to any of the opposition figures, one of the questions I always ask them is about what they think about, especially the presidential elections. So as I was interacting with him, he has always been very in touch with the Dr. Kizza Besigye, and I would actually think that these exchange ideas and probably buy each other's ideas, and it was just imperative for me to ask whether he's going to contest for the 2026 elections, which
and
he
said he will.
His response was, will there be an election? Just tell me if there is an election and I will be there. So it was as obvious as that. So also last week, during the press conference of FDC, the Honorable Amriat, who is the former candidate for FDC presidential candidate, said he will not be standing for the position, but rather fronts his Secretary General, the Honorable Nandala Mafabi. But also on the streets of NRM, it has been quite clear that the candidature of President Museveni has been fronted from the Secretariat, and the Honorable Wanyoto can clarify on this, from the Secretariat, from many of the regional offices and stuff like that. They have always been fronting that President Museveni is going to stand in 2026. So far you will say...
No, even we know that from the General.
Yeah, even from the General, yes. Even the endorsement from General MK, that is Mhozi Kainerugaba. So far you could say we have 3 aspirants, and the political climate is really growing. So you
said fast. That was FDC Najja Nkumbi.
FDC Najja Nkumbi.
We still awaiting FDC Nakasero.
Then there is FDC. That one is in its formation, and Honorable Ssemujju is here because their party has now been cleared to register with the Electoral Commission, and probably one of the things they will be looking at is to look at who is the possible candidate for the coming elections.
Okay. But Abdul
Katumba Oye said he's coming back.
Okay. you hadn't even.
He hasn't given a report. So Abdul, you are on the microphone. As Wanderer has said, this is a time of people making declarations that they want to be president. I like how he says the other FDC, President Amriat has said he's stepping down and endorses Honorable Nandala. And then this other FDC, they are going to expire and have a new name. But President Museveni is guaranteed to stand. Now Bobi Wine guaranteed to stand. Should we expect any others?
Yes, but the serious ones I think I've already declared.
Right.
The rest are always the usual Katumba Oya and Company Limited. But you see, first of all, it is getting a little bit late for any serious candidate to come up.
Really?
Yeah, because when you look at the roadmap, we are remaining with less than maybe 16 months or so to nomination, actually to elections. To election.
October, we are in October.
So it's just 12 months. For NSD as candidate, by now you should have really shown interest. I don't know whether there is any news in what Derek is saying that the Honorable Bob Chagulanji is going to stand or not. I mean, everybody knows he's going to stand. Everybody knows President Museveni is going to be on the ballot. And this we knew because once we had his office, they call it what? National Chairman Office, headed by a certain Hajat lady. What is it called, Lydia? That office headed by the lady.
ONC, the Office of the National Chairman.
Yeah, they have been running.
Headed by Hajat Hadija Namyalo.
Okay.
Is there any other question you want me to answer?
No.
On that one? Okay.
The Hajat Namyalo has been running a campaign called Tova Kumain.
Right.
And she's in the chairman's office. She's in President Museveni's office. So really that should have sent indicators to anybody that actually the chairman is willing and to go on, but is now using his office or people in his office to do it. When you talk about FDC, I must say this, I don't know whether I'm being rude, but Honorable Amriat is looking for a job. And the job he wants is to be member of parliament. So he's going back to stand as a member of parliament. He didn't have a chance at the presidency. And you are going to see he's going to stand as an MP because that's where he belongs. This thing like he participated in last time, I don't think he was serious. He had a realistic go at the presidency. Now, what we are going to see, I don't know because I'm not so sure, is now the FDC in Nakasero. One, they might front a candidate or they might ally with some other candidate who is not President Museveni and certainly who is not the mainstream FDC, who is not now, in the case Nandala goes through as the party flag bearer. I don't see Nakasero allying with them, with Naja Nankumi. Neither are they going to ally with
Lydia,
with the Lydia. So they could either ally with the Boise Road or even themselves to present a candidate, and that is the only. I think
when you told Wandera there was no news, the bit of news was between maybe if Honorable Mpuga would stand as a presidential candidate.
I am not so sure.
No, I think also a week or so ago, I saw the DP bloc coming together and saying they are going to front the Honorable Matthias Mpuga as their presidential candidate as the DP bloc, and they were breaking away from making an announcement of breaking away from
Chairman Mao.
From NUP, not yet.
They broke away from Chairman Mao because those were contradictions within the Democratic Party, and you had a group falling off and joining National Unity Platform, but somehow the marriage has not lasted quite long. So you're only having a few remnants still remaining in NUP, but that DP bloc certainly is going off. I can't see them going back to
DP,
to mainstream DP. No, they will not go because they are purely anti-Mao. I can't see them allying with Naja Nkumbi. Somehow they could relate with the Nakasero. Somehow.
No, they will go to Wanyoto maybe. They will go to Honorable
Ssemujju. No. Let's go to Honorable Ssemujju. Honorable Ssemujju.
Khomeini.
So now that you're here, as Wanda was saying, we will ask you.
Ask me what? Whether I'm going to contest for president?
No. This party of yours has now been, should I say permitted? It has been allowed to register. So are you going to front a presidential candidate?
You see, the registration of a political party begins by reserving a name, symbol, color, and then you are issued with a form to go and correct signature. So that process is still ongoing. In fact, on Monday we'll be at Katonga to begin the correction of signatures with Kampala and Wakiso. My disappointment, Oscar, is that as a country, it appears to me, you'll forgive me, that we've given up on the push for a free and fair election. We are now counting participants in an election whose outcome almost everybody can predict. So that's what you are doing, even you, Oscar. That as a country, we've given up that there will be free and fair election, but nonetheless, who will participate in it? And so we begin doing a count.
Do you remember, Hon Ssemujju, when you first came and said you are standing for the position of speaker, and I asked you, have you gone mad? So let me use that also to answer what Abdu said, that time is running out. Actually, it is not. In 2001, Dr. Besigye, I think, announced that he will contest for president in November, but the elections were supposed to be the following January. So he announced that he will contest for elections 3 months those elections. And he actually did very well, having announced 3, because he had to be retired from the military. So when a candidate is very strong, sometimes it doesn't matter. And when you are weak, even if you announced 3 years before. The UK government, was it 6 weeks?
Yeah.
And they were enough.
So we have had people announcing that they will participate in presidential elections. Of course, you saw how the state responded to someone over 3 months. But he became the main opposition candidate, and I know how you supported him.
I was his manager in the whole of Soga.
Yeah, but his announcement came just 3 months before elections.
But we are done.
Ordinarily, the preparations for people who are going to participate in elections should start early. That's why in the Presidential Elections Act, an aspiring candidate is allowed to consult the country 1 year before.
Yes.
So the law allows you to begin consultation 1 year before elections. And when you're a political party, you need to begin. And elections in Uganda, by their nature, even to look for candidates, Oscar, have been participating in these things. It's a headache. In the last elections, I think the FDC, among the opposition parties, fielded more candidates, I think 240, but there are 539 parliamentary positions. National Unity Platform had 184 candidates. UPC had the biggest success rate. I think they fielded just about 37 candidates and concentrated where they are. Because these elections, as you are about to begin 2020, they created about 80 constituencies. And they are there fidgeting. You hear them fidgeting that we are about to bring constituencies. I don't know if they will bring districts. So at Katonga, we are still in formative stage. But also for us, we are more interested in enforcing free and fair election than in participating in them. In fact, even our participation, at least in the last 2 elections, we said we need to participate in this election to mobilize the population. Unfortunately, the population has not behaved the way we anticipated. Because at least Dr. Besigye has said so, that this population can stop this fraudulent election. But, of course, the cost to pay is very high. So if you attempt, because we are still under military family rule, so you can predict what will happen when those elections become competitive. People will be shot, they will be killed, they will be arrested. And Besigye said, for me, I am no longer accompanying Museveni in this exercise, whose outcome, and his conduct, So when you see Katesh here pretending they are organized, they are what, every ruling party in Africa will be organized. Ask Museveni in 1980. Obote was organized, he was president. Even where he wasn't, he would decide which constituency to create. So if you have the state as your structure, I remember in 2016, I was in a terrorist center in Wakiso. And the results of the NRM woman MP for Wakiso, the Honorable Seninde, were being delivered, declaration forms were being delivered by ISO. Even his personal assistant, who is my friend, was standing for cancer in my constituency. You call ISO Chengera. He hasn't brought forms. For you are struggling to assemble a campaign team. For them, they already have the state. And the way you were saying it's as if it was normal, not even hiding. But in a terrorist center, and it's called, you call this Chengre he has delayed, you want declaration forms here. So who was calling? The personal assistant of Seninde, I will not say his name.
Which forms? For Seninde or for some?
Declaration form for, I said, Seninde, were you listening, Kateshum?
No, because
so in the main, you make yourself available to compete against the state. Okay. Where I agree with Abdu, the preparation must be different. And Abdu knows it. The meeting his people got. So the preparation is not a normal way of you being ready, of organizing posters. You must also organize. In some cases, it works.
Katesh will tell you it's like opposition in Chema. But Lydia, there's
he was opposition because he was contesting against the minister.
Even now,
now I don't know because the minister, I'm told, is going back to his old constituency of Shema North.
Honorable Lydia Anyoto.
Dr. Elioda. Having been harassed by
there's an old man in Entebbe and Nakasero smiling at all this uncertainty within the opposition parties.
What do you want me to say?
Start there.
I've said here before, and I've been accused of undermining my brothers and sisters in opposition, but I wish them good luck. In my very humble opinion, and I'm still consistent, really in Uganda, it will take us time to have people we call opposition, but we would be happy as NRM to have worthy competitors. And like Katesh is smiling, already in NRM ourselves, the primaries are the real opposition amongst the members of the party. But on the other side, if we can, people win because there is a protest vote, others win because people have expectations. But if we want to be honest, intentional, as a country, I think we should begin a real conversation of growing what you do call competitive politics without colors. But these things of colors, me, I do not see. That's why I'm in my NRM quiet, because everybody finally falls under the NRM. And I know I was seated on this very chair, and somebody said they said that my school fees of Gayaza should be refunded. The fellow is a minister before I'm even one. So what do you have to tell me about this?
This is
so for me, these Ssemujjus are reducing by every other day. I wish them good luck, but for sure, if the parliament is an arena of any games,
they have parliament, the speaker and deputy speaker.
But these are NRMs. But these are NRM people now. So what are you asking me to debate? I think at the end of the day, everybody with the calling of leadership would have a chance, would love to have a chance to have a position to lead. So when they finally get into NRM, or if the route is through FDC then NRM finally, or through peace then NRM finally, let Ugandans have the go. But to tell me that we are going to have a strong opposition against NRM, the institution, or NRM Museveni, because there are those who hate NRM Museveni, but finally, after they become his best friends. So we sit here and say, well, you quarreling because you had not gotten a chance to get a position as an individual, by the way, not as a party, because many of them come finally as individuals. So let's take a step back and wish Ugandans good leaders on every side of the aisle, I think. Because whether you are FDC or NRM, we really want a good leader who cares about people, who is empathetic, and who is not corrupt. I think that should be the campaign. That whether it is Katuntu or it is Ssemujju or it is Katesh or Wandera here, Uganda deserves the best of its best. Why? Because we have meager resources that we want to reach out to the people, and that it should not be the blockage to deny Ugandans the services they deserve with the small economy that we run. That should be, I think, the basis. But to use the colors, there's a lot of deception, there's a lot of lies, and we are not fools. We see these things happening. So for me, colors, well, they are vehicles that take us where we want to go. But at the end of the day, I think it does not matter which color you stand. I mean, we also have now independence. But if you have a good leader, that should really help us to contribute to the service delivered to the governance of our country. Now, the challenge is wananchi, because the capacity or the competencies of the wananchi to be able to see what I see, or to be intentional and deliberate about choosing a leader by unveiling the color of where they have come, whether they are independent or NRM or FDC or NUP for that matter. That's where the challenge is. And Oscar, I don't know whether we can be able to mobilize Ugandans to look at the people in their communities, to choose leaders that are going to lead them beyond the color. That's where the debate should be. But people can register their parties. Parties are vehicles. You are welcome to NRM. NRM is a bus without a door. The door is open. They will remove the doors. People are entering. Others are falling off. No, these days nobody falls off. By the way, the bus is full every day. The bus people are entering. Katesham, I don't know that I'm wrong, because yesterday I was in caucus. We had so many new people there. I realized that we are going to answer. So you are welcome to NRM, because a political party or a governance of a country is as good as numbers. It's about numbers. So the more numbers we have, the better. The debate of quality and the intentions, we should check the hearts of people, and I hope voters, they will have an opportunity in 2026 to be able to unveil a color and say, okay, this one is yellow, she's Wanyoto, but what is in Wanyoto is really what is the debate now.
Okay, I have a regular listener, BMK Gift Senior, says, at Ssemujju on X, formerly Twitter, would you kindly put it to at Lydia Wanyoto _M to apologize for giving us fake news regarding Abdul's joining the NRM party. Some of us slaughtered our own chicken. We had to celebrate. Kumbe, it was not true. She shouldn't go away with it. Let's stop for a quick break and come back. Welcome back to the Capital Gang. Short break, but Katesh, it is you on the microphone. You sometimes your constituency is supposed to be all NRM, but this election, your first election, it was all war, and it seems that war of Shema has never stopped.
No, there is no war in Shema. And
the other day they hacked the
president received
your Twitter, your ex.
But that one we ignore. Those ones are usually expected. But the president performed overwhelmingly very well in the last election, and we expect it to be much more, because my friend here, Wandera, said that there was an interview. Actually, like my colleagues have said, there is no breaking news about someone announcing that he's going to stand, especially that particular candidate.
Oh, Bobby Wine.
Yes. What would be worth debating is the agenda or the message in that interview, and I thought that Wandera did not do us good without sharing exactly the fundamentals of the interview. What are you offering other than what you have been?
There's a 2-page spread in Monitor newspaper.
Yeah, we'll probably.
So, yes, it is there.
We'll probably look at it, because the Ugandans are interested in knowing how serious. It's a different. When you call people presidential candidates, they are not yet candidates. They are aspirants. But there is a difference between being serious and people just coming up to challenge. the president for the sake of it. What we see right now in the opposition is that there's a lot of fragmentation. And this fragmentation, it's largely, the quarrels are around here at the center. But if you go down, Ssemujju, no one knows him beyond just when he comes. You don't have any structure in Shema. You don't have structures in different parts of the. You are just quarreling here. Even if you form a new party, how prepared are you to go down? NRM has got structures. We have NRM structures all across the country. Chairpersons, vice chairpersons. So I really, apart from wishing people good luck, but it is it's an uphill task. I think what Honorable Katuntu mentioned, the former president, I think he's looked for an easy way. Come back to Parliament, forget about the presidency, because he knows that's the best chance he can have. Now, these others who are coming up, I think the best discussion should be around how do we have a free and fair elections, and how do we, the message, what kind of message? Before we know it, we are going to see some of the candidates launching their manifestos in Amsterdam, in New York, as usual. And then being
very fair. Sometimes those ones that launch their manifestos in Amsterdam, they are not allowed to launch them here.
No. You know, when the colonials came to Africa, they used the very people here
to refuse them to launch their manifestos. That's where usually the problem is.
To actually do havoc that they did against fellow Africans. So when you see people hobnobbing with, why do you go and launch a manifesto in Amsterdam? Why don't you come and
launch it at home?
No, that's not true. Because you so there's a lot of deception and lies that we are going to see. Those people are not going to vote you.
Oh hell!
Come and. What message do you have to the people?
Okay.
So what we are interested in, Oscar, is the message. Is there anything different from Ssemujju here? If he went in my constituency and says I'm looking for votes for myself,
but previously FDC had a strong voice in your constituency.
Yes,
FDC.
So what happened? But what we are talking about now, because even in my constituency, I don't know whether there is this spirit that we have seen here, whether it has cascaded into the grassroots, because they are nowhere to be seen. For me, the main thing should be what Lydia said. Anyone offering to be a leader is very. It is still my time.
When Betkamia joined the,
let him first finish.
Let me finish my point.
He told Museveni in Kawempe that in Kampala, we are now going to make sure you get 75%.
You see, Oscar,
what did he get?
We have been talking about statistics. I want to interest these parties, this Ssemujju and group. You look at the distribution of population in Uganda. The good thing, they have given you a copy of the national census. Then you realize that your chances are not. You are not going to.
Election
you are not going to win.
Virginia was just cheated, and you know it.
You are not going to win the presidency by thinking that you are going to concentrate around here. Kasokoso, you think that Kampala stops. Uganda starts and ends with Kampala. You have to look at the country and your ability to have a message that is cross-country, that is cross-cutting for all the people of Uganda. But if you are going to concentrate here, make noises here in the center, when you have no structures, when you cannot field LC5 candidates for Chisoro.
He did say they have a problem finding candidates. But Lydia, just finishing off on NRM matters, I remember both, especially yours and Katesha's primaries, they were no joke.
Yeah, that is why we have
that's where the real opposition is. The competition is within the party, the NRM party. And sometimes it gets blood because many people participate. It's very competitive.
I recall the two of you.
Yes. So what is the question? That's where the competition is.
Actually, when
it is real because we know that it is the NRM party with structures up to the village, And that's where the governance heartbeat is. The governance heartbeat is. You cannot come to Capital Gang and talk about a national character of winning an election when you don't have structures at the grassroots. Every village in Uganda, we lose elections of NRM because we have our own internal contradictions. We have anger, and finished confidence. Then the people benefit from a protest vote. But every village of the 70,000 villages in Uganda, they are the 30 leaders of NRM. Just by a snapshot, you'll get 30 leaders of NRM on every village in Uganda.
So, actually,
so if we resolved our conflicts and we dealt with our contradictions, and this is when you are quoting the competitiveness of the primaries, the political parties in Uganda, who some of them now even are supported financially by the government because of the law to support political parties. I want us to continue with the conversation of saying that political parties who choose to form, because that's a right, like Honorable Ssemujju Katonga, they should be allowed. They shouldn't. They should, actually, let the police blind one eye. Let them go, so they don't use it as an excuse. Let them go and organize. And then we find ourselves on the floor to compete.
So that he doesn't ask why do they go to
he's saying they are not in Shema, but let the security agencies or other district office, let them just close one eye. Yes. We want to square off in the competition in a free and fair. So let them be allowed to organize because now they have money.
Yes.
So what is lacking is the thing of saying, the other DC did not allow us to go on a radio talk show, but Ssemujju is on Capital Gang. Yes. So let them be allowed to go and Oscar, do their things.
If I have a radio station in Shema, if Ssemujju is free to come and talk and mobilize. In fact, what we have seen, like in the last election,
I have recorded that statement.
They
let's be competitive.
They never had even a party primaries for their party.
But what Katesh is saying is
trying to squeeze in a question to you.
No, just hold. Let me finish on this one. I'm normally very active during election time for the NRM, but we move to so many polling stations and these people have no agents. So they get results. They get declaration. You go to tally center, they don't have agents in the tally center. In the polling stations, they have no structure. So for me, my issue is.
But Lydia, I want to ask about
let them not be blocked. Let them go out, organize.
Let me ask you about NRM primaries. Lydia.
Yes.
You are a former chairperson of NRM elections.
No, I was the commissioner of the NRM Electoral Commission in charge of the petitions and in charge of Western Uganda.
So what advice can you give to clean up those primaries?
We are it. One of the fights that make us kill each other in primaries is a clean register. Katesh knows this very well. So we are ensuring that the register is not only clean, it is digital, so that you do not smuggle in wrong results in the prefix of a register, wrong register. So the process is as good as the results. So the moment we have a good register, we don't want, like for us who come from cities and urban centers, opposition is fond of coming and entering into our register, and then we get problems. Individually, those who do not like us. So they don't. So now in the towns, me, I'm come from the urban area. I'm from Mbale City. So we want to have a clean register, for example, in Mbale City, of members who are known from the village up to the district, up to the city hall, and then when we go for elections. Oscar, you're listening. The lining up and the tally sheets and the declaration forms are as good as what's on the register. So we've learned our lessons, and our biggest problem was the register. If you remember, because of the fight, the register was suspended in 2021, and people lined up because the register had been abused. This time we want a tight register, both hard copies and the soft copies. So it is going to be online. And then we go for the elections.
We are getting there. Honorable Ssemujju, you wanted to have a quick comment, and then I had invited Honorable Lumu, but we didn't get time. He couldn't confirm.
Yeah, you see, the trouble, Abdu gave me a book, How to Lie with the Statistics. The first election I participated in, I won, but I did not have candidates for FDs to contest for councillors. In fact, I had one, Besigye won, I won, but we didn't have them. In the last election, I'll tell you, in my own area, the NUP candidate who won for a chairmanship of the division called Weyogere, he did not have agents. But he won. There are people in Kampala here who are called, please, you've won, so why don't you go to the Tare Center? Yeah. The reason we have agents ordinarily should be to give you the declaration forms. But they have an extra responsibility because with NRM, you are going to be cheated. And they pride themselves in cheating elections. I covered the elections before I became a politician. There are elections where Museveni got 0 and it bothered him at a polling station. These numbers Lydia is talking about of NRM leaders per village. Museveni kept asking, where are they if I got 0? Where are they? Because there are areas, if you want, I can bring you those results. I still have them. Yes, you said you know them. Museveni was getting 0 with those structures. NRM structures, there is even a motivation to be part of those structures. If they are going to give you money, you have just had a report from the National Bureau of Statistics of people who don't know what their next meal will come from. And they are offering it. So people can put on yellow. One time we went with Dr. Besigye to address a rally in Amur. I came back worried. They were putting on 7 T-shirts. But Besigye was talking, for him he didn't mind. Only later to know that it was just like any other piece of clothes being given out for free. In the election, Besigye won and all FDC MPs and district chairpersons. So the statistics you're talking about, people who want to associate with the state because they are handouts to get. Even Obote had them. In fact, they kept saying, where are Ssemujju's people? The same question is Kateshuma. Maybe he was young at that time. But UPC kept asking, where are Ssemujju's people? You are on Bushenyi. I live on the road going to Bushenyi. They would make you think that the whole of Uganda is Bushenyi when Obote is passing Chazanga with the... But where is UPC in your area?
Out of this.
Maybe Museveni cannot get motivated to cheat elections and shoot and jail candidates if it is as easy as Lydia and Kateshuma are describing it. Maybe do you want to say the president is insane that he will be on the streets shooting people, killing them for an easy election? So these fictitious figures that you throw in people's faces is just to prepare them for cheating. Okay. But otherwise, why do you stop people from campaigning? Why do you stop presidential candidates from? And I was happy by the way when they stopped Mbabazi, because when you are making the law public order management, Mbabazi wanted me taken to the disciplinary committee in Parliament. He was so disappointed that Olanya didn't. I saw him being stopped. And Kateshuma, you don't know. General Muntu kept saying that when I've forgotten the word he kept using to talk about the I will remember.
For now.
But the point is, today you are NRM, you may be favored, all the state structures are in your favor. When that favor is withdrawn, Kateshuma, you will be here crying. Like Mbabazi was.
But
so what you go through during elections?
Honorable Ssemujju,
yes.
I had invited, I wished to invite Honorable Lumu to tell us about his, and he said he's still checking his calendar to see when
he's still
he
checking,
can come.
he's still changing amendments. I don't know which one he wants. Every day he's changing.
So what in brief, what is he proposing?
I think the main proposal in his bill is that the leader of opposition should be elected by all opposition MPs. That's the main proposal. At the beginning, I was told the proposal was that all opposition MPs should be eligible to contest. I haven't seen the latest version. But I am told he may have walked back on that to say, okay, the party in opposition can bring 3 names, have a process of nomination and so on and so forth, and the rest of the opposition MPs are just electing. He had also proposed that a deputy speaker should be from the opposition, that independents should have a commissioner, and so on and so forth. He's my friend, but I told him he's reproducing a bill that had been brought because of our internal FDC problems. At that time, I opposed it. I even appeared before the Committee on Legal and made a presentation. And I said, you cannot seek to change the features of a multi-party democracy because you have had disagreements. I was very angry because the FDC misbehaved, like parties do. When they were chasing the Katuntu, the Cecilia, Winnie Cheese, and everybody, just because we had gone through an election. And my view then and today was that you don't resolve that by changing goalposts. The party in opposition is the party that has come second in an election. Why do you want to participate when they are choosing their leaders? I don't think you should. Okay. If they want to incorporate you in their government, it is up to them. If they don't want, you go and play your role as any other person in parliament. So I told him I will oppose his law as I opposed the one that was being introduced by the Honorable Medad Segona and Nwagawa and Andrew Bariayang. Some of the other things are good things, but that omnibus way of bringing them, it renders them vulnerable because the main discussion now is on the leader of opposition.
Okay. Abdul, is that parliamentarian conduct? Are you allowed to keep changing your bill and so on, or you present it once with all the attachments required and that's it?
Well, there are technicalities. One, first of all, before you bring a private member's bill, you need to have a certificate of financial implication given by the Ministry of Finance. Reason is, in the implementation of this law, if passed, would it have financial implications such that Minister of Finance can plan for it? You don't enact a law when there are no funds to have it implemented and so on. So the Constitution and the Administration of Parliaments Act provides for that certificate. So if you change, you're going to amending and so on, then you might need to seek another certificate. Secondly, when you are presenting a bill, you have the objects and the courts have already held. So if you are moving outside the objectives of that bill during the process, then it certainly also infringes the law. But let's go back to the substance. One, the biggest challenge, as that's what Ibrahim is talking about, is the environment now is fouled. Because nobody is looking at that amendment in good faith. Everybody is thinking they are trying to fix somebody and so on, which is quite unfortunate. But when you look at our Constitution, no leader should lead people except with their consent. I mean, that is a fundamental tenet of democracy. That's why the vice president of this country, the vice president of an elected president, is approved by the entire House, including the opposition. That's why the Prime Minister, who is the other side of... No. Let's talk with the Prime Minister, who is the lead of government business. Yeah. The name is brought to Parliament. And the opposition actually participates in his approval. I don't know whether you're getting me.
But so does any minister. They have
so
to
exactly. And do you know the reason? Because people should be governed with their consent. So the issue about the leader of opposition, who is going to lead people in Parliament, for them to participate in the process of choosing their leader, could be a legitimate debate. Because even his opposite, the other side, is also approved by all, including the leader of opposition actually sits on the appointments committee. He participates in the approval of all, even the ministers, including the government chief whip. And if you have numbers, assuming a president won, but he doesn't have so many numbers in the parliament, but he won the presidential election, they can actually fail it. And because that is also a possibility. However, can you discuss that issue now without people thinking the disagreements within the NUP are the ones causing it? Like indeed, when Medad brought it, they thought it was about what was going on in what? In the FDC. That's where the problem is. Okay. And people have now gone into...
Yeah. Let's go back to one day.
It's just sometimes
very
disheartening.
quickly, in your interview, Bobi Wine seems to suggest that this rule was brought basically because he seems to indicate that Lumu doesn't like Ssenyonyi, hence bringing the proposal. Is it as simple as that?
I think even the speakers who have spoken before have endorsed the same. It seems it is going to be easily swept to that side. Anyone will be easily swayed to think that this law is targeting an individual of Honorable Ssenyonyi, and you will not fight such a person in their way of thinking because of the timing of the law,
of the proposal.
When I hear my OB, the Honorable Katuntu, saying there is a very big difference between approval and election. For instance, if the name of the Honorable Nabanja, who is the leader of government business in Parliament, is tabled in Parliament for a vote, I don't know whether that it will go as easy as it is when she's being approved by Parliament. For me, I feel approval.
I want to get your point.
Approval and
election
and election is, for me, they are different in all ways. In all ways, because I don't think I've seen any name put in Parliament by President Museveni,
nomination,
and then it has been disapproved by Parliament.
Come on.
They have been there, but at the end of the day, President Museveni's yes, President Museveni's word always goes the way it is. You get. So for me,
don't get away with it. Whether it goes away, but there is a process where the people who are going to be led have participated in it. And you see, we could even change. So, okay, maybe the party, what we call the official position, can nominate, and then they are approved by their caucus, those who belong to the what? To the opposition, or even from A. So
for me, the system
problem
right now is what makes the Honorable Katuntu's argument lame, because this is what we have been seeing. So if it's changing the law, why now? And even when it came before, it was because of timing.
We have 2 minutes of a show left. Let me give 1 minute to Katesh and the last one to Lydia.
You see, Parliament has got two sides. You have the ruling party. Okay, I'm talking. Majorly two.
Yeah.
You have
two. There is UPDF.
You have
this is
independent.
You have
this is a Katongo Parliament.
So you have the opposition. So when you talk about leader of opposition, I think the issue has been whom are you leading?
Some people think you sponsored that proposal.
No, because you see, why are we here? We are here because we are.
Katesh himself sponsored the proposal.
I agree. The timing is questionable, but it is self-inflicted because of poor leadership, poor management of that office of called leader of opposition. When you are leading opposition and you replace opposition with your party.
No, that's
and
what, by the way,
no.
It is a party in
there
opposition.
There are issues which is where you as a leader of opposition, you should have. You should collaborate with other parties to have a position.
No.
So the challenge has been the current leadership, and that's why now.
Other parties.
And that's why now you are questioning the timing. But Ssemujju here knows there are areas where you have disagreed.
Yes.
And the party believes that
election, you can
because we have the LOP, so we must stampede all the other opposition parties, and that's why we are having this issue.
Thank you. Closing the game.
I think that
you think?
when we have laws in place or rules of procedure like it is in Parliament, by the way, every Parliament is entitled to do its own rules, but they are also entitled to make amendments as and when they find it deemed. Now, it is up to them. I don't know whether they would love to do amendments or review their laws. Rules of the chairman of the rules of procedure is here in Parliament, Honorable Katuntu, or even the laws. But they never do that. They never do that until when there is something, the environment is corrosive. That's why they are made to be suspect. But the legitimacy is there, the right is there, and the power. But normally they bring it out.
The right is there, the legitimacy is not there.
The legitimacy is there. The timing is always wrong because they are even entitled by law to write their own rules for every term of Parliament. And the chairman of the Rules Committee, fortunately, sits with us here at the Kaptoga Honorable Katuntu. But what happens to them is when the suspect, when they quarrel, then they remember that they can amend. Then they run to the amendments. And that's where it becomes suspicious, it becomes personal, and yet laws are supposed to be blind. You cannot target individuals to write laws of a country or rules of procedure. But they target. So my friend, for us, we have demystified the
constitution when the age became 25.
That one we demystified.
It also had to be changed.
We realized over experience that actually age has nothing to do with the fitness. The guy yesterday was playing karate. Did you see the karate? The fellow taught us karate yesterday. The caucus were doing karate.
Thank you. Thank you, listeners of Capital Gang. Thank you, Star Cafe, for powering the gang. Thank you, the honorables of today, Katuntu, Ssemujju, Katesh, thank you. Lydia, thank you so much. Derek, thank you. Dr. Chris Mukiza of UBOS, thank you so much. Follow us on social media. I am Oscar Semoya Msoke, and I shall see you next week.